Korean women traditional clothing is known as hanbok. Hanbok for women consists of a top known as jeogori, chima which is the skirt and jacket which is known as durumagi. Though the jeogori and chima existed for a long time, the durumagi did not come about until the Three Kingdoms era. Hanbok's origin can be traced back to the Three Kingdoms period which is from 57 BC to 668 AD, where three kingdoms which are Baekje, Goguryeo and Silla occupied the Korean peninsula. The people of Baekje Kingdom wore wider and longer jeogori compared to other kingdom clothing. In Goguryeo Kingdom, women wore white-sleeved jeogori, long enough to cover their hips over the skirt. During the Silla Kingdom, hanbok was influenced by Chinese fashion, where people wore long jackets fastened at the waist, over long skirts. In 676 AD, Silla successfully united the three kingdoms into one, thereby absorbing the cultures of Baekje and Goryeo and improving relations with the Tang dynasty. This was considered the golden age of aristocratic clothing. During this period, clothing was very much tied to social class. There was influence in fashion trends from the Chinese Tang dynasty, where durumagi which is the coat had round collar and large sleeves. The hanbok of this era also often included a wrap or scarf around the shoulders. In the Goryeo dynasty which lasted from 918 AD to 1392 AD, Mongolian fashion influenced the hanbok. Chima, the skirt was shortened and the jeogori was also shorter about the waist and tied with a long ribbon, and the sleeves were curved slightly. The Joseon Kingdom ruled Korea from 1392 to 1897 and this period was a turning point in the gradual transformation of hanbok. The women's jeogori was worn much shorter and tighter than previous periods. In the 16th century, women's jeogori were very wide and came down below the waist. In the middle of the Joseon era, the jeogori was being worn higher above the waist, and by the late 19th century, it came up to the chest and was worn with an additional white sash banded around the chest. However, in the mid-20th century, this trend was reversed and the jeogori once again was in a longer length that typically hits a little above the waist. Upper-class clothing used bright color for children and young women and softer colors for the middle-aged. Ordinary people were only allowed to wear white. In the early 20th century, Koreans started to adopt Western fashion powered by the Japanese occupation of Korea from 1910 to 1945 where the Japanese colonial government promoted modernization. Women started to cut their hair shorter and the flapper style of the West also came into fashion during the 1920s, which gave young women who adopted the style the label of New Woman. After the Korean War, the contemporary movement on fashion gained momentum in the 1950s with newer hairstyles like crimped hair, popularity of the swimsuit, and brighter makeup options in Korea. In 1960s, miniskirts became popular in Korea and Korean-owned makeup industry was established. In 1970s, Korean government set a harsh and conservative environment. Still for the youth, fashion became a symbol of resistance and protest where they used to wear hot pants, miniskirts, long hair, punk clothing, with bold accessories such as big hoop earrings and sunglasses. The 1980s women started to wear casual wear such as t-shirts, jumpers, and blue jeans with bright color makeup styles. In 1990s K-pop industry was established and Korean makeup industry got worldwide attention. Since 2000 to the present, K-fashion and K-beauty products and culture continue to have an impact on the global market. Korean women celebrities from K-pop are considered as one of the most fashionable and influential women.